Assisted living is the most favored and fastest growing long-term care option for seniors in the United States. We talk about senior living every Saturday morning on the Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson. Sharing the morning with John Kopetsky and Kathy Blythe. John is Executive Director of Legacy Terrace at 5700 Fremont Street, and Kathy brings to the table her love for and her longtime relationship with the Legacy. John and Kathy, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
Two guests join us this morning for the Aging Adventure. Kayla Schaf and Kyle Yates are retirement living advisors at Legacy Retirement Communities to discuss with John and Kathy the question, where do I begin when it comes to considering retirement living options?
Well, and let's begin with Kayla Schaf from Legacy. There are so many factors, Kayla, when it comes to considering moving to a retirement living community. I mean, that's a big deal, a big decision. How does one know when the time is right to move, or at least right to start having the conversation?
Yes, Kathy, I've had the pleasure of serving families for over 20 years at Legacy Retirement Communities. And that is a big question for a lot of folks, is how do I even navigate where to start? How do I even go about it? It feels very overwhelming. And so, what we encourage is just start by talking about it, just by the best time to buy a car is before it breaks down. And we often encourage, take the pressure off of not having the conversation. Just start asking questions. And that's our goal, is really to be an open resource to talk about all of it. And we enjoy having those conversations.
So, Kayla, you touched on this a little bit, but is there a magic time or a magic day, magic age that people should start researching retirement living options?
We really encourage folks to do the looking before you need to. Aging, just in different seasons of life, stress can come, change can come unexpectedly. So to be able to really navigate the options, take your time to look around, visit, that's the best time to do it. And we encourage, even if you are 5-10 years down the road, or you have a loved one that you're starting to question, should they need a different lifestyle? Be proactive. That's the biggest advice we can give.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Kayla's saying. One of the questions that we often get asked is, when is the right time to start looking? And the honest answer is there might not be a right time that's set up. If you're waiting for that right time to just magically appear in front of you, it probably is not going to happen. You might be waiting. To me, I think it's very important that a lot of folks, if they're having these thoughts, if they're having some of these feelings about making a change in their life, to address it. It might not always be comfortable, but it is certainly very advantageous to stay ahead of things. We go through our whole lives making these plans and preparing ourselves for our next chapter. We're always preparing. And to be quite honest, this is a chapter in our lives that people avoid preparing for. And I can understand why some folks might do this. There is definitely a physical and emotional toll that comes with having these conversations. They're not the easiest to have, but they are extremely beneficial when you do have them.
I know you've shared with us before that oftentimes you will visit with a couple, or at least hear about a couple, where one is very in favor of researching retirement living options and the other one is not at all in favor of it. You've also shared that many times people themselves, even though they're in that right situation to do so, have to kind of be prompted by friends or family to get the ball rolling, to at least get some information.
Yeah. We see so many different scenarios, a lot like the ones that you just described, Kathy, and it makes it interesting, to be honest. It's very interesting because this is certainly never going to be a one size fits all situation. Each individual person that we have the pleasure of meeting with and talking with and really uncovering some of these deep rooted emotions with, they don't always meet or align right at the same time, which is okay. That's one thing that we always stress to people is no matter where you're at in your process, we're willing and excited to meet you there, not where we or any community would want you to be, but where you're at in your search for what you are wanting as your next chapter of life.
So much information to consider. And as you mentioned, there's really no one size fits all. It's a highly individual choice. And I've known through my experiences here with the legacies these past years, it really is, there are so many different dynamics in each family. There are medical needs that need to be addressed, and everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. So we will dig a lot deeper into this topic of when is the right time, where do I begin, when we continue with the aging adventure next here on KFOR, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities.
We're back on the Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson with John and Kathy to continue our conversation with Kayla Schaf and Kyle Yates, retirement living advisors at Legacy Retirement Communities, to talk with John and Kathy about retirement living options.
Kyle and Kayla, before the break, we were talking about getting to that point where you may want to know some information and start delving into your options. What are some action steps that you recommend to people to get the ball rolling?
Kathy, we recommend just giving us a call and starting the conversation. We understand that picking up the phone may be the hardest first step. Our advisors, though, really are experienced and understand how to meet people where they're at and just be a resource. It is our primary goal to be an educational friend to the folks that reach out to us and provide whatever information that they may need. And a lot of folks don't even know what questions to ask. And that's okay. The next step is to set up a visit. That is going to give you the best indication of what feels right to you. And we are happy to sit down and have a discussion and talk through, what does your current life and situation look like? And what do you want for your future? And it's as simple as just having a conversation.
Yeah, I agree with Kayla. I think one misconceived idea that a lot of folks have is if they come in and they look at something, or if they start asking these questions, that they're just going to have this tightening wrench on them, that they have to make a change, they have to move. And that is just, that just couldn't be further from the truth. It's a process. I often tell people that looking at retirement living is like eating a pie. You can eat the whole pie at once, but you're only going to end up with a stomach ache. Come in and have a piece at a time. You don't have to figure it all out in one sit down, in one conversation, in one tour. In fact, I would strongly recommend that you don't do that. There's a lot that's involved with this lifestyle. As we talked about earlier, it's a new chapter in your life, and it's an exciting new chapter. I think that if you see how our retirement living advisors handle each situation, It's very much a one-on-one approach. We're here to help regardless of any outcome. Do we hope you pick a legacy community? Absolutely. But if it's not the right fit for you, then we're not going to force that shoe onto that foot, so to speak. We are honestly here to help serve our community of Lincoln with whatever fits them best, and meet them again, like I said, where they're at.
Really, in many ways, it's almost like when you bought your first house. If you think about that, it's a huge decision, a long commitment, and can be kind of scary. But none of us, or at least I don't think very many people, would have just bought the first house they looked at, or if they wanted to, they went around, looked at other houses, see what's out there, what do they like, and after they did their research, then they could go in and really start seriously looking, and were much happier with the house they ended up getting, because it was the one they wanted, not the one they had to take because that was the only one available.
Absolutely, John. I think, too, when you're looking at a house, it's similar, I guess, to looking at a retirement community. And one of the biggest differences, though, is that just like your house, this community here has a strong culture. And finding the culture that fits you best is so important. There's definitely a family feel that is attached to retirement living. And you're going around, I always stress to people, make sure you feel the community. Talk with the residents, talk with the staff, engage it. It's not just an apartment. This truly is a living style, and making sure that you have the right fit for your needs and your wants is important, but making sure that personal connection, just like you're connected to any home that you buy, is also so important.
Kyle is so right. And, we recognize this season of life can bring a lot of changes. It can bring a lot of struggles. And everyone needs an outlet to talk through it. The finances piece is generally a very overwhelming piece for many folks. And so we have some great executive directors like John Kopetsky that are happy to sit down and just discuss the financial side of things. If we need to help break down long-term care policies or different factors that will bring some clarity, we're happy to do that.
That sounds good, Kayla. We'll talk more in our next portion of the aging adventure about the emotional and physical toll that making a lifestyle change can make versus not making that change. Interesting things still ahead from Kyle and Kayla with the Legacy Retirement Communities. This is John and Kathy, and we'll be right back.
Our conversation continues this morning on KFOR. It's the Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. The subject is retirement living options. John and Kathy are joined by Kayla Schaf and Kyle Yates, retirement living advisors at Legacy Retirement Communities.
Let's continue with our conversation we were talking about during the break, and that's the emotional and physical toll that making a lifestyle change has versus not making that change. Would you address that for our listeners?
Absolutely. You're saving the best for last, Kathy. This is maybe one of the largest hurdles that a lot of people face. We'll see different steps along the way. So first, they kind of go through things mentally, whether or not they want to make that change. Is this the right time? And they ask those questions. And once they've kind of found peace within themselves and have the answers that they're looking for, then they start looking at communities. Now they've looked and they've found the right one. And now this is where the flood of emotions and all the deep questions really start coming up. This can be a stressful time. There's the stress of making a change like this at this point in my life. Where do I start? How do I seek the support that I need? All these questions of, what do I do with all my things? Can I live in a community style living? These are all things that we highly recommend that you come and sit down and express those feelings, express those emotions. They're very real. And if you're doing it alone, it can be a very hard thing. I know, for example, Kayla has had many examples and many situations where she has really influenced people to be self-motivated, and she's just such a great support to them as they're kind of going through this mental block. They get to a point where they think, well, should I do this or should I just quit? And they really reach that stage of ambivalence where they don't know what is best. Kayla, what are some of the things that you've experienced in having some of those conversations with folks? Where do you feel they gain the most support and the most empowerment in order to best move forward or make the best decision for themselves?
Yeah, I think just like any change, and I try to put myself in folks' shoes of just, looking at the unknown and just not knowing, when you think about your past and what has been important in your life and your family and a lot of reflecting, it's easy to get lost kind of in the past and not be focused on the future. And oftentimes, we really just try to be a listening ear to understand what is really important in your life. And, what do you value? Do you value your health? And, so if your health is something you very much value, how is your day-to-day supporting that? Are you social? Are you eating great meals and enjoying having things to look forward to? And we're just here to hold your hand and walk you through the possibilities. And at the end of the day, it's your decision of what your future looks like. But a lot of times it's just helping people see the forest through the trees, if you will.
Is it safe to say that fear of the unknown is probably the root of most of people's objections? Or is that the thing you encounter the most?
I would say so. And I think there's also a stigma and kind of the stereotype of what, senior living is. The legacies are a place to live, to be engaged, to meet new friends, to have fun. It's not a place to sit in your rocker and watch the news all day. And I think, folks who are proactive and want to be educated find that out that, wow, this is not what I thought it was. This is not a nursing home.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people come here, and one phrase that I hear more often than I'd care to hear is, if I would have known it was like this, I would have made a change sooner. It's great to hear, that's a huge compliment, but it's up to us to kind of spread that wisdom to folks who are just beginning their process. So many folks, I think, they feel my body might be aging, but my spirit, who I am, my identity is still just as young as I was a little, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And that can be difficult to think about it like that. But a lot of folks find a rejuvenated youth when they come here. They have the opportunities to live the lifestyle that they truly identify and value. if anybody feels like they have any questions after listening to this, we're always available to answer your questions with a non-pressure type of approach. You can always contact me, Kyle Yates, here at The Legacy at 402-436-3000. You can also reach us online at our website, legacyretirement.com.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Kayla. John, how can somebody reach out to you at Legacy Terrace?
402-464-5700.
Kathy, thank you. We'll talk again next week. I'm Dale Johnson on The Aging Adventure.